The pill bottle rattled in my shaking hands. Empty as my lies. I stood frozen in our cramped Seattle apartment. The scent of my own Omega pheromones betraying me. Spiraling into the air like a confession I could no longer choke down. By the time I realized I'd grabbed the wrong suppressant sugar pills, not the blockers I'd relied on for years, it was too late. The front door creaked open. And there he was, Caleb. My alpha roommate. All broad shoulders and quiet intensity. His hazel eyes catching mine before they darkened with something primal. He dropped his gym bag. The thud echoing like a gavel in my chest. "Evan," he said, voice low. "What's that smell?" I'd spent 3 years hiding who I was. 3 years blending into the background at the University of Washington. Masking my Omega status with illegal suppressants to pass as a beta. No one could know, not my professors. Not my friends. Not Caleb, who'd been my rock since we met in freshman chem lab. He was the kind of alpha who didn't flaunt his dominance. Who made you feel safe just by existing. But now, standing in our shared living room with its mismatched thrift store furniture and the faint hum of the city outside, I was exposed. My secret was out. And the air between us crackled with something dangerous. Something alive. "Caleb, I can explain," I stammered, backing toward the kitchen counter. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. The suppressants were supposed to keep my pheromones locked away. Keep me safe from the instincts that ruled this Omegaverse world. But I'd messed up. Grabbed the wrong bottle in a sleep-deprived haze. And now my body was screaming what my mouth never could. I'm an Omega. I've always been an Omega. He stepped closer. His expression unreadable. And I braced for disgust. For rejection. Alphas like Caleb kind, but fiercely protective didn't mix with Omegas like me. Who lied to survive. Society had rules. Unspoken but ironclad, Omegas were claimed. Controlled. Or cast aside. I'd fought tooth and nail to carve out a life where I could be more than my biology. But one mistake had undone it all. "Explain what?" he asked. His voice softer now. Almost tender. He stopped a foot away. Close enough for me to feel the warmth radiating from him. "That you've been hiding this from me. From everyone." I swallowed. My throat dry as ash. I didn't have a choice. I whispered. "You don't know what it's like, Caleb. To be an Omega in a world that sees you as less. I wanted to be normal. I wanted to be me." His jaw tightened. And for a moment, I thought he'd turn away. But then his hand reached out, hesitating before brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. The touch sent a shiver down my spine. Electric and terrifying. "You think I don't see you?" he said, his voice rough with something I couldn't name. "I've always seen you, Evan. Even when you didn't want me to." My breath caught. There was no judgment in his eyes. Only a raw, unguarded intensity that made my knees weak. I'd spent so long running from my truth, from the pull of my instincts, that I hadn't noticed the way Caleb looked at me like I was more than a roommate, more than a friend. But now, with my pheromones flooding the room, there was no hiding the heat pooling in my chest. The way my body responded to his nearness. "Caleb, you don't understand," I said, stepping back until my hip hit the counter. "This changes everything. I'm not who you think I am." He didn't move, but his gaze pinned me in place. "You're exactly who I think you are," he said. "And maybe I've been waiting for you to figure that out." The words hung between us, heavy with meaning I wasn't ready to face. My life had been a house of cards, built on lies to keep me safe. But Caleb's presence, his sense-eater, and storm threatened to topple it all. I didn't know if I was ready for what came next. But one thing was clear, there was no going back. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and the weight of my mistake. My body felt different. Raw. Like the suppressants had been a dam holding back a flood. I'd barely slept, replaying Caleb's words. His touch. The way his eyes seemed to see straight through me. I wanted to believe he meant it. That he saw in just the Omega I'd hidden but fear not at my gut. What if this was just his alpha instincts talking? What if I was just a pheromone haze to him? I shuffled into the kitchen, where Caleb was leaning against the counter, sipping from a chipped mug. His hair was still damp from a shower, and the sight of him in a fitted t-shirt made my traitorous body hum. "Morning," he said, his voice casual but his eyes sharp, like he was waiting for me to bolt. "Morning," I mumbled, grabbing a mug to avoid his gaze. "About last night." "Don't," he cut in, setting his mug down. "Don't apologize for being who you are, Evan." I meant what I said. I froze, coffee sloshing in my mug. "You don't get it," I said, frustration bubbling up. "This isn't just about me being an Omega. It's about the lies, the risks. If anyone else finds out, I could lose everything: me scholarship, my job, my freedom." His expression softened, but there was a fire in his eyes. "You think I'd let that happen? You think I'd let anyone hurt you?" The sincerity in his voice hit me like a punch. I wanted to believe him, but trust was a luxury I'd never afforded myself. Growing up, I'd seen what happened to Omegas who didn't conform, forced into bonds, stripped of agency. I'd clawed my way to independence. But now, standing in our kitchen with Caleb's scent wrapping around me, I felt like I was teetering on the edge of something vast and terrifying. "I don't need protecting," I said, though my voice wavered. "I've been handling this on my own for years." "Maybe you shouldn't have to," he said quietly. "Maybe you deserve someone in your corner." The words cracked something open inside me, a longing I'd buried so deep I barely recognized it. I wanted to lean into him, to let his strength anchor me, but fear held me back. What if this was just biology? Alphas and Omegas were wired to want each other, but I wanted more than instinct. I wanted real. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the counter. A text from my boss at the campus library. "Evan, we need to talk. Come in ASAP." My stomach dropped. Had someone else noticed? Had my pheromones slipped through at work? I glanced at Caleb, who was watching me with concern. "Everything okay?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "But I have a bad feeling." The library was a maze of bookshelves and secrets, and as I walked through its quiet stacks, I felt like a fraud. My boss, Dr. Hargrove, was waiting in her office, her expression unreadable. She was a beta, sharp and no-nonsense, and I'd always admired her. But now, her gaze felt like a spotlight. "Evan," she said, closing the door behind me. "We've had a complaint. Someone reported an unusual scent in the library yesterday. I need to know if there's anything you're not telling me." My heart stopped. The suppressants had failed me at the worst possible time. I opened my mouth to lie, to spin some excuse, but the words wouldn't come. For the first time in years, I was tired of running. It's complicated, I said finally, my voice barely steady. Dr. Hargrove raised an eyebrow, her pen tapping against her desk. The air in her office felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in on my carefully constructed life. Complicated how? She pressed, her tone not unkind but firm. Evan, you're one of our best workers, but I can't ignore this. If you're an Omega and you've been hiding it, there are protocols we have to follow. Protocols. The word sent a chill down my spine. At best, it meant mandatory registration, public disclosure of my status. At worst, it could mean losing my job, my scholarship, my chance at a future I'd fought so hard for. I clenched my fists, nails biting into my palms. I'm handling it, I said, the lie tasting bitter. It was a one-time thing. It won't happen again. Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't push further. I'm giving you a week to sort this out, she said. Get your suppressants in order, or I'll have to report this. I don't want to, Evan, but my hands are tied. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak, and left her office with my heart in my stomach. The walk back to the apartment was a blur, the Seattle rain soaking through my jacket. All I could think about was how close I was to losing everything and how Caleb's words kept echoing in my head. Maybe you deserve someone in your corner. When I got home, Caleb was sprawled on the couch, a textbook open on his lap. He looked up, his expression shifting from relaxed to alert the moment he saw my face. What happened? He asked, standing. I dropped my bag and sank onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. They know, I said, voice muffled. Someone at work smelled me. I've got a week to fix this, or I'm done. Caleb sat beside me, close enough that I could feel his warmth but not touching. Who's they? He asked, his voice steady, like he was ready to take on the world for me. My boss. The library. Probably half the campus by now. I laughed, bitter and hollow. I've been so careful, Caleb. Years of hiding. And one stupid mistake. He was quiet for a moment, then reached out, his hand resting on my shoulder. The contact was grounding, a lifeline in the storm of my thoughts. You don't have to do this alone, he said. Let me help. I looked up, meeting his eyes. They were steady, warm, and so painfully sincere that it hurt. Why? I asked, my voice cracking. Why do you care so much? You could walk away. Pretend you never knew. It'd be easier for you. His hand tightened on my shoulder, and he leaned closer, his scent enveloping me. Because I've been in love with you for 2 years. Evan, he said, the words raw and unfiltered. And I'm not walking away now. The confession hit me like a tidal wave, washing away my defenses. I wanted to argue, to tell him it was just his alpha instincts, that he didn't know what he was saying. But the way he looked at me, like I was the only thing that mattered, made it impossible to doubt him. For the first time, I let myself feel the pull between us, not just biology, but something deeper, something real. Caleb, I whispered, my voice trembling. I'm scared. I know, he said, his thumb brushing my cheek. But we'll figure this out. Together. That night, we sat at the kitchen table, a mess of empty coffee mugs and crumpled notes between us. Caleb had pulled up every resource he could find legal loopholes. Omega rights groups. Even underground suppliers for better suppressants. His determination was relentless. And watching him fight for me made my chest ache with something I wasn't ready to name. "We could get you new suppressants," he said, scrolling through a forum on his laptop. "There's a guy in Tacoma who deals in untraceable ones. Expensive, but they work." I shook my head. I can't afford that. And even if I could, it's just a Band-Aid. If someone else finds out, it's over. "Then we fight," he said, his voice fierce. "We go to the Omega Rights Center. Get you protected status. They can't fire you if you're registered and compliant." Compliant, I echoed, the word tasting like ash. "You mean branded? Monitored? Like I'm some kind of animal?" Caleb's jaw clenched, and he reached across the table, taking my hand. "You're not an animal," he said. "You're Evan. You're brilliant, stubborn, and stronger than anyone I know. And I'm not letting you go through this alone." His hand was warm, steady, and for a moment, I let myself believe we could do this. But the fear lingered, a shadow in the back of my mind. What if love wasn't enough? What if the world we lived in was too cruel to let us have this? The next day, I went to the Omega Rights Center, Caleb at my side. The building was a nondescript office in downtown Seattle, its walls plastered with posters about equality and acceptance that felt like empty promises. The counselor, a kind-faced beta named Maria, listened as I explained my situation, leaving out the part about my feelings for Caleb. She was sympathetic but blunt, registering as an Omega would protect my job. But it would mean giving up the anonymity I'd fought for. My name would be on a public list, open to scrutiny, judgment, maybe worse. "There's another option," Maria said, lowering her voice. "Some Omegas go off-grid. No registration. No suppressants. But it's risky, and you'd need someone you trust to help you navigate it." I glanced at Caleb, who was watching me with that same steady gaze. Could I trust him with that? Could I trust myself? When we left, the weight of the decision pressed down on me. Caleb walked beside me, his shoulder brushing mine, and for the first time, I didn't pull away. "Whatever you choose," he said, "I'm with you. No matter what." That night, back in our apartment, I made a choice. I didn't want to hide anymore, not from the world, and not from him. When I kissed him, it was like coming up for air after years underwater. His arms wrapped around me, strong and sure, and for a moment, the world outside didn't exist. It was just us, two people defying the rules that tried to keep us apart. But the world wasn't done with us yet. The kiss changed everything. It was a spark in a powder keg, igniting feelings I'd buried under layers of fear and denial. Caleb held me like I was something precious, his lips soft but urgent, and I let myself believe, just for a moment, that we could outrun the consequences of my truth. But the world had other plans. 2 days later, I got another text from Dr. "Hargrove, we need to meet again. Bring documentation." My stomach sank. Someone had reported me again this time, with proof. A coworker had found an old prescription bottle in my locker, labeled with my real status. The lie I'd built my life on was crumbling, and I had no idea how to stop it. Caleb was furious when I told him, his alpha instincts flaring. "They can't do this," he said, Pacing the living room. We'll fight it. We'll get a lawyer. Go public. Whatever it takes. Caleb. Stop, I said, grabbing his arm. You can't fix this. Not this time. He turned to me, his eyes blazing. I'm not losing you, Evan. Not to them. Not to anyone. His words were a lifeline, but I was drowning in doubt. Going public meant exposing us both, our relationship, our bond, everything we'd just begun to explore. The Omegaverse world wasn't kind to pairs like us, where love defied hierarchy. Alphas and Omegas could bond. Sure, but only under strict rules, with paperwork and oversight. What we had was raw, unscripted, and that made it dangerous. The meeting with Dr. Hargrove was brutal. She sat across from me, a folder of evidence in front of her, the prescription bottle, a witness statement, even a grainy photo of me looking unwell at work. Evan, she said, her voice heavy. I tried to give you a chance. But this is out of my hands now. The university has to report you. I felt like I was falling, the ground disappearing beneath me. What happens next? I asked, my voice hollow. You'll be placed on leave until you register, she said. If you don't, you'll lose your position and your scholarship. I'm sorry. I left her office in a daze, the Seattle skyline blurring through my tears. Caleb was waiting outside, his jaw set, his hands stuffed in his pockets. Without a word, he pulled me into a hug, and I let myself break, sobbing into his chest as the rain fell around us. We'll figure it out, he whispered, his voice fierce. I promise. That night, we made a plan. No more running. No more hiding. I'd register as an Omega, but we'd do it on our terms. Caleb found a lawyer through the Omega Rights Center, a fierce woman named Lena who specialized in cases like mine. She warned us it wouldn't be easy. Registration meant scrutiny, and our relationship would be under a microscope. But she believed we could fight for my rights, maybe even set a precedent. The process was grueling. Forms, interviews, medical exams that left me feeling like a specimen. Through it all, Caleb was there, holding my hand, cracking terrible jokes to make me smile. He was my anchor, my reason to keep going when I wanted to give up. But the real battle came when the university pushed back. They wanted me gone, not just on leave. Lena fought like hell, arguing that my deception was a matter of survival, not malice. Caleb took it further, organizing a campus rally with other Omegas and allies, demanding fair treatment. Seeing him stand on a makeshift stage, speaking with fire in his voice, I realized how much he'd changed me. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore, I was fighting for us, for the life we could have. 6 months later, I stood in our apartment, a letter in my hand. The university had reinstated my scholarship, with conditions, regular check-ins. Full disclosure. It wasn't perfect, but it was a victory. I was still me, Evan, the stubborn, bookish Omega who'd clawed his way to a future. Caleb came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. Proud of you, he murmured, his breath warm against my neck. I turned in his arms, looking up at him. I couldn't have done it without you, I said, my voice thick with emotion. You saw me when I couldn't see myself. He smiled, that soft, heart-stopping smile that had undone me from the start. And I'll keep seeing you, he said. Every day? For as long as you'll let me. We kissed. Slow and deep. The world fading away. In that moment, I knew we'd won something bigger than a lawsuit or a scholarship. We'd won the right to be us, flawed, fierce, and unapologetically in love. The Omegaverse could try to define us, but we'd write our own story. One where secrets became strengths and love was the ultimate rebellion.